Hi, welcome back to Not So Obvious Watches and my hot take on the new Breitling Super Chronomat. What do I mean by a hot take? This is not a critique or review. I won't have been hands-on with the watch. I'm just relying on what I can see on the other side of a screen. It's largely my response to the watch, really get generated quite quickly. There'll be some time for reflection, but not a lot. And the last thing is, under no circumstances am I intending to be your Google. If you want to read the spec sheets, if you want to know the sizes and the movements and everything, go check someone else out. Google is your friend there, not me. This is, as I say, my response, my thoughts, my feelings about a watch. If you want numbers and measurements, there's any number of other people that can help you with that. So with that intro said, see you on the other side of the intro music, and we'll get into it. Okay, so let's get into my hot take of this Breitling Super Chronomat. Actually, I've got to admit, it's less of a hot take and more of a lukewarm take. That tepid reaction really reflects the journey I've been on with this watch. It's an averaging of both the lows and the highs I've experienced. There has been a low. I'm currently on a bit of a high, and I'm probably just going to hold my breath until I see it in real life before I really commit. But let me describe the journey and where I'm at right now. When I first saw this watch, to be frank, I was kind of disappointed. I was disappointed for two reasons. My immediate response was, it's yet another retro revival, yet another new heritage piece. The latest of a long line of such pieces. Now, the watches that we've been getting have been lovely, and I really enjoy them. Starting with the AVI 765, moving through the 806 re-release, the new capsule Super Ocean 57s I loved, and those the most recent releases of that pistachio chronograph, the duograph, and the Datora. They're stunning watches. Don't get me wrong. I'm not wishing them away. I was worried though that they weren't enough. That a watch brand which lives exclusively in its past, frankly like Longines, maybe doesn't have much of a future. And as something of a fan of Breitling, I was concerned that this constant rehashing of their past would eventually snuff out their future. And as soon as I saw this, and as soon as I saw the word Chronomat and Super Chronomat, which has kind of, again, is a series of words that Breitling's used in the past, I got this feeling that we were being dragged back. The other thing is, so I was already put off as soon as I saw the word Super Chronomat. Then I had another look and I saw that big, bold, shiny bezel and those really big, shiny pushes and crown. And there was a part of me that felt, not only is it a return to the past, but it's a return to the very past of Breitling that I do not like. That big machismo early 2000s to 2015 period that I felt Breitling had repudiated and stepped away from. Both of those things combined meant that my initial gut reaction, my knee-jerk, prejudiced, unthinking, reptilian brain response was pretty damn negative. That said, I was not content to squib it and ignore this. I've made a couple of Breitling videos where I've been quite effusive in my praise of the organisation, and I felt that, and its direction, and I felt that to ignore the watch that I didn't like, it felt cheap. It felt a bit Hodinkee-like. So I figured I would drag myself back. I would make myself look at this. And I had a bit of a Zenith Chronomaster kind of moment where I suddenly realised my reaction to this watch was exactly what I had been critical of with people and their response to the Chronomaster. of not sitting with it and giving it time and thinking through it and not forming an opinion at all, but rather just responding with a prejudice. And so with that in mind, I actually deliberately sat down, excised my previous views, looked at this watch purely through what I tried to make new and unbiased eyes. And to be honest, I almost immediately fell in love. Getting past the name, getting past the idea that it's based on the Chronomat, I actually immediately saw what has actually been in all of the press releases. This is very much a forward-looking watch, starting with the case shaping, the complexity, particularly around the pushers and the crown area. This is a watch this is a case which owes virtually nothing to the past other than it's broadly watch-shaped. Moving to the details of the bezel and the crown, again, there's nothing here which is looking backwards. There are parts of it, such as the rider tabs, which, yes, hold on to a Breitling tradition, but those materials, the color choices, the textures are all brand spanking, up to date, very contemporary, new and moving forward. And once I sort of grabbed that and understood that and sort of internalized that, I began to see this watch is exactly what I was hoping for. This is a watch which represents a potential future, not just a rehashing of the past for Breitling. And that's something to be really happy with. Also, as I'm looking really closer, yes, there are big shiny parts of this. But what's really funny is the big shiny parts of this watch are the parts that used to be kind of muted and hidden. And the parts that used to be big and shiny are now satin and brushed and a little bit muted. In the past, the exact Chronomats that I hated, those big galactics, etc., big, super shiny, high polished cases with low muted tones on the bezels, the pushers, the details. This watch has inverted that. We now have lots of brushed and satin finishes on the metallics, and the work is being done by the details, by those, albeit very shiny, very glossy pushers, crown, and the obvious bezel insert. That kind of inversion, that subversion of the old kind of machismo style in this new version, which, thank God, does not have the winged bee. I am so glad it doesn't. I think this watch is almost made by the fact that it doesn't have the winged bee. They've really interestingly taken those big, bold ideas, put them in a forward-looking piece, and then not saddled it with that winged bee of the kind of early 2000s. I love that they've done that. The hands, the indices, the sub-registers, the markings on the bezel, they're all just super clean and contemporary and exactly what you would expect of a watch of the early 21st century. And given that this is intended to be a watch of the early 21st century, it is exactly as it should be. It's just a good-looking statement piece. Now, I'm going to wrap this up on that last notion of this being a statement piece. In a world where so many people are making vanilla, versatile, generic, timeless pieces, I love that Breitling has said no. This is a piece that is for enthusiasts, and that bit is going to make some of you roll your eyes. But what I'm saying here is this isn't a watch for the person who buys one nice watch and that's all. And that gets them through the day. Your average mall consumer. This is a watch for the person who's got lots of watches and frankly doesn't need the one watch that they can wear every day with every outfit. This is a watch for the person who says, I need a watch for that day when I'm doing something special and I want to have it all out there. This is the watch for me. This is a watch that forms part of a collection, isn't some generic, gets me through, does the job, is good enough for everything, but is never absolutely wonderful at anything. And I know this is a theme I've been on a lot with a lot of my videos. The idea that timeless and versatile are terrible things to say about a watch. And this watch here really brings it home. It doesn't try and be timeless. It doesn't try and be versatile. It doesn't try and be generic. It doesn't try and be boring. It doesn't try and be timeless. This is a watch that's just going to party when you really want to party. And again, that is something I absolutely love about it. And that is probably why right now I'm on a bit of a high with this watch. But why am I going to hold it back a little bit and describe this as lukewarm? Because this is a watch that is such a statement piece that it could all fall apart in the metal. This is a watch which might have, maybe they've got wonderful renders, maybe they've lit the photos perfectly, and maybe when I've got this in my hand, it just can't push through. It just can't deliver. So for that reason, I'm going to hold back a little bit and say my journey is not over with this watch yet. It began with some disappointment. It's gone through a bit of a high, but right now, my advice to me and to you is to hold off just a little bit, wait till we see the actual watch, perhaps even get it in hand ourselves, and then I'll commit. And with a bit of luck, I'm going to really try and get hands on with one of these because I really want to do a critique of one of these. We'll see how we go in the future. So anyway, that's the end of this hot take. Let's get to the outro and I'll see you on the other side. Well, that's it. That's my hot take on this watch. More of a lukewarm take, I suppose. I'm still coming to grips with exactly how I feel about this watch. And I think this is a watch I really, really need to see in the metal to know exactly how I feel. I think that this watch is going to live or die by its execution. Anyway, I've been Pete McConville. This has been Not So Obvious Watches. Please like and subscribe. It's great to see the channel actually have a bit of a spurt lately, which has perhaps inspired some of my more YouTube-y friendly like and subscribe comments. Anyway, that's it. I'll see you later. Bye.